right, good morning, good afternoon, good evening, ladies and gentlemen. Welcome to our session today. This is one of the AI sessions, part of the Sahara Sparks Week that is happening starting on the 20th of November, which is yesterday. And we'll have sessions and events happening throughout the week until the 28th of November. So make sure you register for any of those that catch your interest and that you fancy. So, in today's session, we'll be discussing the artificial intelligence and its use for social good. And this is based on a project that is currently happening in Tanzania, Ghana, and Nigeria. And the main speakers of today will talk more about it. We are joined by Data Science Nigeria, who, if you're active in the AI space, I'm sure you've heard of. And we're also joined by Superfluid Labs, who do some amazing work in Ghana. And without further ado, I would like to pass it on to Shion from Nigeria and Data Science Nigeria to kick us off and get us started.
Thank you so much, Isa. Thank you so much for the introduction. I hope you guys can hear me.
Yes, we can.
Great. So I'm going to be sharing my screen now, and I'll just walk us through it step by step. So. Okay, so please do confirm that you can see my screen. Great, thank you so much, Isa. So, good day, everyone. Thank you for joining the session. We're quite excited to be able to share with you today a very, very important project we're working on across 3 countries. My name is Hamzat Oluwaseun. I'm the product manager for this project. The project is funded by Botner Foundation in Switzerland, but handled by the AI Commons Foundation. So AI Commons Foundation is partnering with 3 other African organizations to deliver this project and to test design processes. And I'm going to walk you through the problem we're trying to solve, right? And then our framework and for solving the problem and our entire goal and the overall progress we've had till now. And basically, I know that all the other project managers on this call as well would have the chance to answer questions and provide information about the organization. But if you're hearing about Data Science Nigeria for the very first time, you're simply an AI ecosystem developer, end-to-end ecosystem developer from research to forming communities to developing AI talents in those communities to solving problems using artificial intelligence and mostly focused on artificial intelligence for social good. And uh, that's our major goal and our major focus. And our goal, really, our vision is to be able to raise 1 million AI talents in 10 years in such a way that it would provide about 10 multiplier effect upon the GDP of Nigeria and by that also the African continent. So quickly, I'm just going to go through my presentation, and I know that probably after the end of this presentation, you would have a whole lot of questions to ask. And I have my other colleagues. I have my colleagues from Nigeria and from Ghana, and Isa as well is a very, very key, is a project manager for this project in Tanzania. So we have the full team here, and we're willing to take your feedbacks and get your comments and just take your questions and provide answers as best as we can. And so the topic, right, and what we're trying to do is to make sure that we can catalyze artificial intelligence for common good using grassroots communities, right? But the problem really is that we all understand that, and it's been well communicated. It's a message that has been well received, and we're beginning to even see the outcomes, especially during these times where and the COVID-19 swept through the entire globe. People have been talking about the possibilities available with artificial intelligence, how artificial intelligence is the next drive for digital transformation across all sectors, and the fact that artificial intelligence is very, very key to our future in terms of solving problems, in terms of doing a whole lot of things that we've not had the opportunity to do before, right? So it's one key thing, and it's basically just transforming the way we live, the way we work, the way we even play. And so it's no doubt, there's no doubt at all about the potential inherent in artificial intelligence, and we can all see it all around us. But coming down to the African continent, right, and majorly we still know uh, that there's still a whole big talk around artificial intelligence, especially being the fact that most of the tech around most technology or most solutions developed by based on artificial intelligence are still majorly black box algorithms, right? And what I mean by black box algorithm is that it works, but then you cannot, not all this, although this is an active and it's a progressive part of AI now, that's currently being worked on actively by the research community. But it's once AI gives a prediction, most times you don't know how the AI or the model got to arrive at that conclusion. We just try to confirm how accurate it is, but then begin to realize that in fields like medicine, in fields where these key decisions that the model makes tend to affect people's lives directly. We cannot just be satisfied with just getting or increasing the accuracy of these models. We also need to understand how did this model make this decision? What were the steps that it took? And so there's an issue around explainability, right? And moving from there as well, there's also issues around how do we begin to now even reproduce the solutions, right? Because we're seeing all these uh, big solutions built on AI and are doing great things for the advanced worlds and communities. But then when we come back to Africa and other developing nations, we begin to really notice that AI is not really making as much effect or really groundbreaking effect as we expected it to be. And that can be down to many reasons. It could be infrastructure, it could be even the understanding, the competencies required to build these solutions and all that. But also one thing that we also came around is that in trying to address this problem is a possibility of creating an entirely new way of solving AI problems. Um, Creating a new methodology for solving AI problems. And that's what really inspired this project. And so the AI Commons project basically is trying to just create a proof of a concept of a new methodology of developing AI solutions that allows anybody anywhere to benefit from the possibilities of AI. It's as simple as that. So what we're trying to work now on is to make sure that we can increase or improve the accessibility that is how these AI solutions can be accessed and used for good. How can we reproduce the solutions? There are solutions that were developed for example, in the US or in Europe, and then we want to get the same solution, but we understand that the contexts are different, right? So people don't necessarily behave the same way they do in US, in Tanzania, or in Nigeria, and different cultures and different ways of living. And so it means that we cannot just import solutions. We need to be able to contextualize solutions. So how do we reproduce these solutions? How do we contextualize it? How do we even enhance the solutions globally and make it something that people can easily use and that can really begin to make the kind of impact we envisage AI can make? So apart from just trying to do all these things, we also intend to really be able to demonstrate to the global communities how especially global communities of AI experts, how they can begin to learn and co-create mutually beneficial solutions with the opportunity for cross-county incremental announcements. And so the entire explanation of all that is that if we're able to test that this new model, which I'm going to walk you through, actually does work, the goal is that we would also be able to share it with all these global AI communities and especially of experts, researchers, and all that, to be able to teach them that there is a better way of solving problems, especially using artificial intelligence, that allows this kind of solutions to be easily accessible to people, right? And we can begin to even increment solutions. So it doesn't mean that the solution has to be stagnant for a while. It can also be incrementally enhanced. So that's the goal of the project. It's quite a lofty ambition, but we're quite excited with the team we're working with. We have huge support from the AI Commons team, And then we've also teamed up with great organizations as well. So we have a great team that's trying to work on this issue that I just raised, and trying to make sure that artificial intelligence actually easily accessible and is really making that groundbreaking effect or output that we all emphasize it can. So I'm going to walk you through the iCommons project methodology, and I'm going to walk you through how it's been implemented in the three locations. Because of uh, the idea we're trying to implement is to test the fact that this same model can be implemented and can be enhanced over time across different countries, different cultures, and different borders. And what better way to even test that than to test it in Africa, where the cultural diversity is just immense. So this is basically the framework we're using. One major thing that we realized, especially when we began to examine how solutions are being created, especially within the AI community, I've begun to realize that there are very, very few communications between what we call the solution developers and those people who have been identified as the problem owners. And problem owners are basically people who understand the problem, who are affected by the problem, who interact with the problem, or it's like their daily occurrence and daily experience. So these people are in a better place to be able to actually provide and shed more information about a particular problem, and then enhance the way solutions can be developed. Unfortunately, in the AI communities, it has not happened that way. It just seems some solution developers create their solutions completely outside that interaction, and then suddenly come to the realization that the solution that has been developed really does not solve the problem well, or it has issues and is not easily adopted. People are not using the solutions. And so we came about a simple framework that I'm going to walk you through in a minute, about how we can begin to solve problems, especially on the African continent. And in this project, we majorly focused on the health and well-being sector, so that we can just be laser focused and just understand how this framework can begin to work in this context. And so this framework is really, really driven by the grassroots communities, that is, communities of solution developers, communities of problem owners who now come together. So our framework really gives them that platform to be able to work together and interact together to solve problems. So the first thing is, how do we identify problems? That's where we started from. How do we identify problems? What are the main problems, and what helps in identifying those problems? So we created a simple framework where for every sector we chose, for example, we chose the health and well-being sector. We got people who are daily affected by the problem. So we got normal people. Then we got people we called the problem owners. So people who also in their daily lives are involved in trying to solve or provide solutions to this problem, not necessarily from an artificial intelligence or from a technological background. For example, in the health and well-being sectors, problem owners involve doctors, nurses, all forms of health workers, emergency or first aid responders. We also had researchers in universities or in tertiary institutions who were also actively involved in trying to research new ways of solving a particular problem within the health and well-being space. We also had students who are also trying to gain competencies in these areas, as well as people who currently have gone through all these challenges, all these problems, and also brought in the tech experts who either have developed a solution or are interested in developing solutions around that area. So we brought all of these people together and we brought them to help us identify problems. In the case of Nigeria, we had about 100 of them. So it's to identify the problems. What are the major problems within the health and well-being sector in different countries? And then from there, after identifying, we moved into documenting the solutions. And documenting the problem. So first of all is to really identify the solutions that already exist in that space, document the solutions that are already identified in that space, and then move down straight into identifying the problems. So for example, in Nigeria, within our community members, we're able to identify about 7 solutions already developed within the health and well-being space. And this was also accurately documented. What we did in documenting the solutions, which is a very, very critical aspect of the AI Commons project, is that we based our documentation on extent, I'm probably going ahead of myself, but I'm going to explain this in detail. You will see some of this template that we use in documenting the solutions. And the idea is that we are able to document the solution in such a way that anybody can pick up, any experts can pick up this documentation and can easily reproduce the solutions or even contextualize it within their very domain, right? And then we moved into the ideation workshop. Ideation workshop was where we evaluated the solutions, try to find out what were the issues with the solutions and what are the strengths, what are the weaknesses, and where are improvements needed in the solutions. And then we identified prevalent problems. And then we also moved on to documenting. And I'm going to walk through all the stages step by step after I just walk. I just want to give a general overview so you understand. Also, from the identification of the problems, we moved on straight to the hackathon. And the hackathon, that hackathon, there was also very, very important interactions between the problem owners and also the solution developers. And from the hackathon, all the solutions that were developed were thrown open as open source solutions and which are also properly documented. And we moved on into the evaluation again by the problem owners, and then everything will be centralized into a knowledge hub that will be made easily available to people. So let's now walk through all these steps that I've just highlighted one after the other and just explain. So far right now, what we've been able to do is to get, and these are the key numbers for now that we've been able, based on the current progress that we have, is that we have about 41 open source solutions already identified. We have 214 problems or challenges within the health and well-being sector. This I'm talking about across the 3 countries right now that have already been identified and also documented. We have 35 problems that have been thoroughly documented out of these 214 problems. So it means that these documentations can be picked up by any solution developer and they would have the required understanding to be able to build a solution that addresses the problems. And then right now we have more than 489 project contributors already across, and that's why we mentioned that this framework is really heavily reliant on the grassroots communities, that people who are on the ground and who are getting their hands dirty or encountering these problems every day. And then we have this project implemented across 3 countries in Africa, and that involves Ghana, Nigeria, and Tanzania. So these have been our major milestones. We've been able to identify problems, also be able to identify solutions as well. We've gone into detailed problem documentation. We developed, gone through all the hackathon, also been able to adopt this same framework across 2 other different nations. And we can see how this worked, and we could also begin to see how this framework was also incrementally improved as it went across borders. And we're currently also working on a knowledge hub. So I'm going to just walk you through each of the steps. I know you would have probably have a lot of questions as I'm going through this presentation. Please, if you have questions, just note them down. We'll be able to provide answers at the very end. So in identifying and documenting solutions, our major focus was to get solutions within the health and well-being, because we cannot start from scratch. We understand that work's already been done in these sectors, especially even using artificial intelligence and technology as a whole. So the goal basically was to identify the major solutions within the ecosystem manager that were open sourced. And when I mean open source, that means, and that's really very common, that solutions that you can easily have access to their code and then easily use or implement or even modify based on your demand. So all the solutions that we identified, about 7 of them were completely open sourced. And the way that we created an entirely new documentation template based on extant literatures and best practices. And the goal was that we needed to document the solution in such a way that it becomes easy, because we found out that one major problem, especially with AI, is that number one, it's been a black box algorithm. And apart from that as well, it becomes very, very difficult to reproduce solutions, especially if you go for this world-class artificial intelligence conference where people demo new solutions or talk about their new research. It becomes very, very difficult for people to actually re-implement those solutions, or to even test it for what the solution claims to be able to solve. And so the goal for us was to be able to create an entirely new documentation template, so in such that the documentation would enhance reproducibility, enhance explainability. So all these things are easily done just by documenting your solutions in details based on some of the questions that are asked in those documentation. So if you want to get the solution documentation template, you can have access to all these links that I've just shared easily there. And basically, we just address these four major pillars, right, of addressing the what we call the crisis of explainable and reproducible AI, and then trying to address these four major pillars of issues raised. We try to create a documentation template that easily addresses all these issues. And then we had a template where we documented the 7 solutions with. And the one reason why we found, one major reason, or one major goal or outcome of this exercise was that the solutions were so much documented that it became easy for people to even build upon it, as evident in the hackathon. I'm going to get there shortly as well, but it became so easy for people to be able to reproduce the solutions and even improve the solutions based on the documentation that we provided regarding the solutions. And so the next thing was that we went into the ideation workshop, which was a 3 days online ideation process where that involved all the categories of people I've previously explained: academic researchers, health workers, problem carriers. When I say problem carriers, are people who have experienced the problem or currently still experiencing the problem in either health and well-being or the challenges with health and well-being sector in Nigeria. And then we went, also invited solution experts. So these are the distributions of the people that actually did show up for that. And in the ideation workshop, we were able to identify problems, because what we did was that we categorized the health and well-being sector into 10 thematic areas where we had financial inclusion, we had food and nutrition, we had public health, diseases and infections, accident and emergencies, mental health, pandemic, physical well-being, drug use and administration, and child health. And so we had these thematic areas, and we had people divided into these thematic areas to, number one, help us evaluate the solutions that have already been developed in these areas, to find out what were the weaknesses and what were the possible improvements that were needed to make these solutions better. And apart from that, we also needed them to be able to identify the major problems in these thematic areas, so that we can begin to document some of these problems and throw it open for a community of problem solvers to work on. And after the end of the 3 days process, which involved capacity building as well, because we realized that for people to, number one, be able to thoroughly evaluate the solution, or to be able to identify even problems and prefer possible solutions based on their own unique standpoint of view, they also had to have some unique sort of capacities or inherent in them. So we dedicated 1 day out of the entire 3 days for the workshop into capacity development, especially into design thinking. Basically, design thinking basically is the act of creating solutions to problems from the standpoint of the users, the end users. So we have people trained on that. Everybody who attended that training was trained on design thinking, and then the ideation process. And ideation process basically refers to the methodology or the framework of generating ideas pertaining to a particular problem. So after that, then they were able to effectively evaluate solutions and then provide identify problems in the key particular areas. So from there, we were able to identify, for each of those thematic areas, we were able to identify at least 2 to 3 areas that were quite germane, very, very urgent, and were seen as a very prevalent problem. And what we did was that we went into the documentation process. So we created also an entire new documentation template. And these were our unique contributions to the AI community, because we realized that there's no standardized document actually, to the best of our knowledge, really standardized documents to help people document their problems in such a way that it becomes easy for solution developers, for technology experts to be able to pick it up and then build a solution to address those problems. So we identified key questions to be asked especially if there's going to be a kind of interaction between problem owners and solution developers. So we identified and we created an entire new documentation template. You have the link here, so we'll probably share the slide with you later so that you can also go through some of these things and examine them. And then we made it into a competition that encouraged the participants, about 100 of them within the data science Nigerian space, to just identify these prevalent problems and then begin to document them. And so we had, from this exercise, we had about 14 unique problem documentation, thoroughly documented and researched. So you have all these documentations on our website. Also, they will be on our knowledge hub, because that's the entire goal of being able to put all this. Not that solutions alone will be documented, but even problems will be documented, because we have these development organizations, funders trying to solve problems, and the issue is that they really do not even understand the problem they want to solve. So the best way to actually provide very, very good solutions is to actually go into the process of how do we identify these problems, and then how do we document it in such a way that it becomes easy for anybody who intends to solve this problem to have the required statistics, to have the required insight needed to build a solution that justifiably addresses the solution. And so that's the major work we did over there. It took our volunteers and contributors about a week, about 2 weeks to be able to do this process. So they had to identify where the major players in this industry, especially in their thematic areas, and based on their experiences, and not forgetting that these are the people who on a day-to-day basis already have interactions with these problems, either trying to look for solutions or even encountering these problems and challenges, even as helpless as helpless individuals, just struggling with these challenges every day. So they had unique insight into actually providing the needed information for anybody to be able to pick up these problems and begin to work on a solution for it. So at the end of the competition, a winner eventually emerged, and then the award of $1,000 was awarded to that team. So we had about an average of about 10 individuals or 10 experts working on one thematic area at a go at a time. So from there, we were able to convert all the problem documents. Now we have documents that's sufficient enough to be able to guide technical experts to walk through to provide solutions to this problem. So what we did was that we created an hackathon, and we invited solution developers, tech experts from all over the nation and even Africa, just pretty open for people to attend. And then we had them go into groups, and the mandate, one of the constraints that were placed on, especially team formation, was the fact that people had to go into groups, but not just getting technical experts together, but also to have people who have a very good understanding. So it was very, very important for us, for you to have either an health worker, somebody very, very familiar with the health problem or health challenge you're trying to work on, right? And then we also made sure that there was synergy, not just between the teams, but also the solution developers and the people who actually were involved in documenting the problem, because that interaction needed to be, that's what is lacking, most especially within the solution development community, especially around artificial intelligence. So that interaction was key for us. And at the end of, we had close to about 500 applications, and we were able to select about 160 of them, divided them into about 20 unique groups, and then about 40 teams. And then at the end of everything, we were able to, and you can see the prize awarded for each of the solutions that came tops. And then we had a briefing session where we walked them through all the solutions. We had the problem owners come again to work the solution developers to walk them through the understanding of the problem. So we had, apart from creating a video, we also had the problem owners also have that interaction with the solution developers. So this is the problem we are encountering that has been documented. These are the statistics. This is the prevalence of the problem. These are the people that are affected. This is the demographic and all that. So all the needed information. And they even went beyond, went the extra mile to prefer possible solutions. Now we've walked them through how AI works, the key areas of AI and all that. And then the problem owners from the standpoint and their newfound understanding of the AI technology and the AI space were even able to prefer solutions to the solution developers to say, you know what, from our understanding of the problem space, we know that you could probably have new ideas to solving this problem, but from our understanding of what AI can do and the possibilities with AI, we think that natural language processing will be good to solve this problem. We think that recommender system will be good to solve this problem and all that. So that's the level, that was a level of interaction and the level of detail that went into this sort of hackathon and this sort of engagement with the solution developers. So at the end of the day, within the Nigeria, I'm going to walk through, now that I'm explaining the entire process, I'll be able to explain to you also how the little changes are called across, because I'm just using Nigeria as a case study now to explain the entire framework for the audience now. But moving into Tanzania's implementation and Ghana's implementation of this framework, I'll just reach through them now that I've already laid the foundation, and I'll just walk through some of the differences in the implementation. And I thank God we have the project managers here as well to also be able to provide some sort of insights and guidance into the unique challenges and even the differences that were on the project and the implementation side. So from there, we were able to also, because this is quite unique. It's quite very, it's like something that has really not been done before in the AI ecosystem. At least a standardized framework is currently being tested in how to synergize problem owners and solution developers, and also to create entirely new documentation templates to be able to make sure that solutions are well captured, problems are well documented, and these things can facilitate explainability and all the other advantages, all the other benefits I've identified. So we gathered all our frameworks, although even not fully tested and fully developed at that time, and submitted it to the biggest gathering of AI experts across the world. It's called NEURIPS. That's the biggest gathering of artificial intelligence experts, researchers, solution developers across the world. Across the world, the biggest gathering. And we wrote 2 papers and submitted to them. One was a paper on how to, on this our framework, and another paper on our documentation frameworks that we developed. And as of now, I'm happy to announce that we got one of those papers accepted. We had the problem and solution documentation template accepted at the NEURIPS, which will be presenting on the 11th of December to the entire global community of artificial intelligence experts, which is a big addition, not only for the AI ecosystem in Africa, but also a big plus that for the entire global AI community, because now we are proposing an entire new framework and even documentation template to support it, of how people can begin to solve problems on across the world in such a way that AI becomes easily accessible. Currently, we're still working on what we call an AI knowledge hub. And what the knowledge hub basically does is that it creates a central repository of knowledge. So all our documentation, all our solutions that have been developed, the open source solutions, all sit on a central repository that allows people to come interact with them. You could comment on it, you could even take the solutions, improve on it, and then submit again. So different possibilities with the knowledge of. It just makes it so easily accessible. So if you're looking for, right now I'm starting from the health and wellbeing sector, we'll probably in the coming years probably begin to even expand it beyond the health and wellbeing sector to other sectors. But then at least you have a knowledge of where you have every open source solutions available. So for the solution experts who are interested in solutions, or even to the development organizations or AI for good organizations who are interested in finding problems that needs to be solved, right? So there's a central repository that allows for that interaction between problem owners and solution developers. So we don't want to create that interaction in the solution development phase, but we also want to continue that interaction. A platform that not only houses knowledge or not houses resources and algorithms and models and solutions and results and all that, but also a platform for problem owners and solution developers to continue to engage themselves. So on that knowledge hub is still in development, and we hope to be able to show a demo when we go for our NEURIPS presentation at December on the 11th, 11th of December. We hope to be able to present a demo of that knowledge hub that shows what we intend to do, the entire goal of the project, where people can get open source. And mind you, the solutions are open source, which means that you can download the solutions and implement it for your own context. And if there's any change that you need, it's so much documented that you easily walk through on how to add your changes, how to incrementally build it, and all that. And our entire goal really is that these solutions begin to even translate into what we call into startups, where the startups begin to really solve problems on the continent of Africa and even beyond Africa, because that's the entire goal. And so that's what we're trying to build with the knowledge of, and it's currently still in the works. But majorly also what we're also testing right now at this point also is the first country adaptation. So not that those because the first implementation was in Nigeria with Data Science Nigeria and their community, and we've been able to prove that this thing works, and it's really really good because we've seen the interaction between problem owners and solution developers, and we are excited by that possibility. Number one, that is interaction, but even at the outcome, we've seen immense and interesting, innovative solutions being developed just by the reaction alone. And so we've tested that same model across Ghana and Tanzania as well. So you could see Tanzania's implementation. This is the ideation workshop. They were able to get 19 challenges identified, and we're able to also document 10 of them, thoroughly documented. You can also find all these resources on AI Commons page on Tanzania's on Idea Labs website, and all this. So all these are the things that have been done. So you can see the number of applicants as well for the hackathon, and the distribution of how they got all this, and you can see how the problems were selected. Majorly the problems for the hackathons were selected based on the prevalence, the urgency, and the economic importance of those problems. So those were now that's where how we selected the problems that needed to be documented and be thrown open for the hackathon. So the same thing with AI Commons Ghana as well. You can see the distribution of how these problems were, how the framework was implemented. Although in the case of 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 Tanzania, we didn't start with identifying the solutions first because of the stage of the AI ecosystem in Tanzania. So we started basically from identifying the major problems, and from there we just built on following the same framework that was being developed. So it's been an interesting journey so far. We're very, very excited. One major keystone for us really was that the paper has been accepted. We've seen a lot of people, more than 500 project contributors at this point. So people are excited, and I'm pleased. And so for us just to emphasize that most of these people contributed as volunteers, not there were really no, although there were some incentives to guide, but there was really no, it's really not a paid engagement. Is if you come up with something very, very interesting, then you will probably get rewarded. So that's the kind of exciting things that we've seen people do over this period. And we are so excited to be able to show, and we're looking forward to this opportunity to be able to present to you this model that we have worked on for the past 6 to 7 months across different countries. It's been an exciting time. It's been really a major point of joy for some for us who have been working on the project, because now, apart from doing something great for the continent in the essence of creating solutions that will address the health and well-being sector, we are also saying from the continent of Africa, we are proposing to you, the global community, a new model of solving problems using artificial intelligence. So at this point, I would just trade open for questions and get feedbacks and get your questions and even comments on how you think this problem, or how you think this framework can be uh, uh, improved and all that. So we are looking excited to for the discussions that we have. We have all the project managers here. SI is here. Adima also from the Data Science Nigeria um, implementation arm. We also have Emmanuel, if I'm correct, Emmanuel and Winifred also on the call. I'm very, very happy to take your question at this point. So I would add over back to Esther, and I will stop sharing my screen now and just be willing to answer questions. So thank you very much, guys, for the audience.
Thank you very much for that presentation. He's gone through a lot of information. This is a project that's been happening over the past couple of months. It's a pilot project. We've been learning quite a lot of it. And right now I'm monitoring through the chats in case there are any questions. And something that we've been learning throughout this session, throughout this project, is there are multiple ways that to engage the local communities. We found that we are able to engage them through virtual means and still get relevant information. We are able to engage them through physical meetups and have a certain depth of information. But then the trade off comes with the number of people that we're able to engage. And there's been a lot of learnings as we've been going through this. The emphasis of students' participation in hackathons was especially highlighted here in Tanzania when the hackathon lined up with the university examinations that were going on, and we saw that due to that there was a lower number of applicants for the hackathon. And as soon as we pushed it a bit forward so that it didn't clash anymore, our numbers shot up. And the emphasis on how much students and the young generation really contribute to innovation and technology, no matter what the field, really was emphasized in this. So this, as we've said multiple times, is just the beginning. It's a pilot project. It will happen again. We've started with health and well-being. We will expand beyond this. So I'd like to open the floor to any questions, any comments, any feedback, and we can move accordingly. Meanwhile, as people are typing out their questions or pondering what they'd like to start with, I'd like to invite the Superfluid team to talk a bit about what they've done, because they have also had quite a few learnings and experience through this. So if the representative from the Superfluid Labs is ready. Yes, I just realized, give me a second. Um, as some of you know, Zoom has had tendencies to have issues. So uh, we by default implement not allowing participants to unmute themselves. Hold on. There,
Okay.
that should work
Hello.
now.
Hello. Good day, everyone. My name is Winifred, and I'm with the Ghana team of Superfleet Labs, the project implementers for Ghana. And I must say that thanks so much, Esther, and also thanks so much, Shewun, for presenting our successes and our learnings so far and giving us those details. Thank you very much. It has been a very great experience for us. In fact, one of the things we were most excited about was the level of participation from the volunteers. Initially, when we wanted to start this project, we were not very sure, given that it was also COVID, and we were not sure the number of participants or the interest, but we were very excited to find a lot of diverse people from diverse backgrounds were all very excited to join in and to share problems they had observed or personally experienced um, for their work, from their work, or as people who had this problems personally. And I think for us, one of the things we found very exciting and motivating for us was the involvement of the community in contributing to identifying the problems. And also when it came to solutions development, we also found a lot of interest in terms of the number of different technology professionals who came who volunteered to join the session and to develop and build these solutions. One of the things that stood out was access to data. So from some of the problems we were looking at, there were no data sets readily available or accessible to the teams, and we had to look for other alternative data sources or make up synthetic data. So I think that that's also one of the key takeaways for us is how do we ensure that others who would see this approach to solving, to identifying problems, to documenting problems, and want to provide solutions to it. In our context, access to data is not very easy. In a lot of countries, this data is, when it comes to the sector of health and well-being, is actually controlled by the health facilities. So you cannot easily access that kind of data from a learning perspective to experiment and to work on solutions. So access to data is one of the key things. I hope by the time we are done with this, we will be able to make some recommendations on how to get other stakeholders involved in providing anonymized data sets, which developers and solution developers can use to perfect their models they are developing. So that's also been very good takeaway for us, which we are putting in the learning reports. The other thing too is when we look at how we can potentially scale these solutions, another approach we've been thinking about is if we were going to do this was to involve one or two health facilities from the start, after we've identified the problems, who would be ready and available to avail their environments for us to start implementing or deploying this solution. So another thing we have thought about is if we're going to do this, to also bring on board not only problem owners but also health facilities from the start, so that we get their buy-in and their input, so that when it comes to scalability, we would have, at least we can run a pilot at their facilities and have a lot more seamless and great responses in terms of the practicalizing all of these things we are working on. So it's been great. We've actually learned a lot. The whole team has been very motivated, and we are very excited at the prospects of this for us as a country and also for the continent.
Thank you very much for that. And as you'll keep on hearing, everyone, there's a lot we've been learning from this. And even on our side, we've even in Tanzania faced similar data issues. And what we noticed is due to the support of the amazing technical teams we have here, there was a movement towards, okay, if we can't find existing data or if we can't find existing data sets, then what else can we do? How, could we create synthetic data? Could we get experts, interview them, and get information and data from them, from the experience they've had over the years in the different fields? And through that, we're seeing alternatives coming up and ideas at a level where it's more implementation driven. Can we create data on our own that is relevant to the solution that we're trying to build? And I see there's a question here in the chat that's talking about the support and promotion of these developed solutions post hackathon. So this part that we've completed is the first phase, where it's the creation of the solutions itself and of course the improvement of the existing solutions that were within the ecosystems. And once we have these to a level that is viable, because as we know, with artificial intelligence we have to consider a lot more factors such as the bias, the data quality, the real world implementation of these, and we'll be going through the processes with different partners to make sure that the technical side also is up to an acceptable standard. And then post that, we are working and planning on what can be done to support and test these solutions in the real world, because what we have is feedback from the problem owners on the solution, the way it was presented and provided by the solution builders. How that will shape up when it's actually deployed and implemented is something we're looking to find more about, but that is a stage that is in the future, and perhaps Sharon will be able to comment a little bit more about that.
So thank you so much. It's a very good explanation of it. So basically, almost all, what so the major goal right now is to first develop the solutions and get them open sourced and put them on the knowledge of. There's also a second part of the implementation of the project that will see us identify the most promising solutions, and which will then scale up and then begin to promote. So I see that your question is, how do we intend to support and promote all these developed solutions? The major thing for us really now is, once the knowledge hub is fully developed, we intend to begin to promote the knowledge hub, make people aware that there's a central repository that allows you to have access to a lot of solutions, a lot of documentations, and that creates a create a platform for the interaction between problem owners and solution developers. So that'll be one major goal for us. And in the promotion of the knowledge of, a lot of people will then have access to these solutions, and they can either begin to incrementally improve on the solutions, or do whatever it is. Our goal is really that people are aware that these solutions exist, these problems exist, and that they can begin to even interact with other people and form a community of their own, or even a network, to begin to even continue the development of these solutions, or even address some problems that have been identified. So that's the major goal. But apart from that as well, because that's the goal of the knowledge of really, but apart from that as well, and probably I have to give some, like you called it, just some, what's the word now? Just try to inform me that I'm really not speaking. I don't speak usually in full authority of the owners of the project, but from our communications, the intention really is that we're going to identify that this solution, some of the promising solutions, and then even fully turn them into fully developed solutions, and probably even startups that will begin to address real problems. But the first goal and the major milestone for us is that people are aware of the knowledge of and the solutions that are on it, the documentations, and then other functionalities of the knowledge of. And they can begin to even start using those solutions even right now, or do whatever they need to do. But then the goal also is that some of these solutions will be scaled up to the extent that they will begin to solve real problems, tangible problems within the African ecosystem. I hope that answers the question. Okay, so I'm done. Isa, I hope that answers the question. I hope I answered the question well.
I believe it does, and we're going to look at exploring, even from Tanzania, how can we, or through the existing communities that we have, begin to support the deployment. And this is a plan across all of the locations that this project is happening, that whatever the case, these are solutions that are built together with the technical individuals, with the developers, the AI practitioners, as well as problem owners, the people who face these challenges, the people who work directly to solve these problems. So what can we do to make sure that after all of this, there is an opportunity for us to deploy it in the real world? And one way or another, we will look at making it happen. But specific promises is not something that can be made at this point in time. All we can say is we will do our best to make sure it happens. All right. Are there any other questions, comments, feedback that you'd like to pose to us here while we are in the hot seat in regards to the project? All right, so it seems like to me this is good. It seems like a lot of people have understood the project and what it's trying to do and how we're going about it. And if I were to summarize it in very short, we are bringing together all of the people who would be affected and would be related to these types of solutions to make sure we build these solutions together. And through that, we understand a system that we can use anywhere for any type of similar problem to build an AI related solution for that by bringing together the problem owners, the stakeholders, and of course the AI developers and practitioners. So if there are no more questions, comments, or anything specific anyone would like to bring up, then I'm not going to take any more of your time. We're glad to have had you here. Does anyone have any comments or last words before I begin wrapping this up?
Okay, so I think we just want to thank Sarah Sparks for this event and for inviting as well, creating an opportunity for us to share what we've been working on for the past couple of months. And thank you so much for the audience, guys, and we're happy to be here. As a parting word, thank you very much. Bye.
On behalf of Sahara Sparks, I'd also like to thank you guys for joining us. Thank DSN and Superfluid for making the time and joining us in this session. And with that, I will close it off with our small teaser video. And have a great day, everyone.